So can you give me an example of a life that's been changed as a result of what Dare for More is doing?
Yeah, I have so many cool stories.
I bet you do.
Yeah, so many cool stories through the years of people globally. I have so many amazing stories of women. I'm inspired by these women because they do amazing things with so little. They fight through so many hardships and so many difficulties. But one of the most wonderful stories. I was in India. I'm speaking at a conference, and the interpreter came up and said, "This woman wants to talk with you." And this woman shared her story, and she said, "I've not trusted Christ. I've heard the gospel over and over again." And she said, "I kept saying it costs too much for me to receive Jesus because my family, when I go back to them, they will kick me out. They'll probably beat me, and I will never have a family again." And she said, "But today you talked about the amazing grace of God, and you talked about how God can redeem a life. And she said, you talked about the great sacrifice of Christ on Calvary for me." And she said, "It dawned on me, God gave so much more for me than I would ever have to sacrifice for him." Yeah. And she said, it just blew me away. And so she said, "I want you to know that I trusted Christ today. And I'm leaving here right now, and I'm going back. And I'm going to just tell my family and deal with it." And I just was like, blown away. More women were talking to me, and so I went to go find this woman again and talk with her, and she was gone. And the lady told me, I said, "What will happen to her?" And this is what she said. She said, "Well, I'll tell you." She said, "We'll probably have to go get her this afternoon. She'll probably be beat. And we'll have to rescue her, and we'll have to take care of her physically until she's back to health." And she said her family will forever forsake her. We'll have to find her a new family a place where she can live. And my heart was like, I'm sitting here like, oh. And she goes,
what a burden.
but she read my face, and she was like, "Reba, this is what we do. Yeah. It's okay." And I was just like, oh Lord, this is, the cost is great sometimes to follow Jesus, and yet there are people whose lives are being changed because of what God has done for them. Yeah. And so these are, just a few of the stories that we've seen, lives that have been changed, people's lives that sometimes shock us, scare us, overwhelm us, and yet we watch God do miracles every day in people's lives in ways that are just, you can't even talk about the cool things that he does inside the heart, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So can you share with me something that's really exciting to you about the future of Dare for More?
Yeah, like everything.
Make one thing.
Yeah, one thing, right? Everything
All
right
the
now.
Things.
Yeah, so from the very beginning, when we first spent time in the Caribbean, and we sat there in that room, and when I got back on that plane and was praying, and God was beginning to take us around the world to help women, I asked the Lord, "Could you send us to somewhere where there's nobody helping?" Because if there's already somebody there helping women, we're going to cheer them on. But they don't need us to come in and, right. We want to go somewhere where maybe there's women in high crisis and nothing's being done. And during the global pandemic, when everything is locking down and people are hibernating away and nobody's getting out in public, and God begins to do this work. And it's crazy. I tell people all the time, everything else might have been shut down during COVID, but God wasn't shut down during COVID.
Right.
And he was quickly at work during COVID. And so he opened up some new doors for us to go to Guatemala. And if you look at the location of Guatemala, you've got Mexico to the west and to the north of Guatemala, and then you've got Colombia and Venezuela to the south. And so you've got this drug pipeline, you've got this human trafficking pipeline that runs from up and down that part of the world. And women were really in crisis there. And human trafficking, abuse, extreme poverty. We found violence against women escalated during COVID. And so God opened the doors for us to go to Guatemala. So what is going on new right now for us is we're starting, that prayer request has been answered, and we're starting a brand new work in an area of Guatemala where there's not anybody doing anything for these women in this way. So Lord willing, if as God opens doors and blesses, we're going to purchase land, build a safe house, and it'll be the first of its kind in the country. And then we're going to build women's training centers that'll be located all around that in villages and towns, so that we might be able to pour into women who don't need a safe house, but they need massive help, prevention and so forth, and then also to provide that safety and rescue for a woman who needs to disappear.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. And I'm really thankful that the Lord is bringing us along in
Me
this
too.
process.
Which is the next really cool, exciting thing, right? Because you and Dave are coming along, which is so exciting for we're so excited, and God has just brought people into our lives right now. It's to help us do the work. So I think I said this the other day with you guys, but when I see God doing all these miraculous things, I know He's up to something. So I'm just like, oh, this is going to be so good, but I don't know what it looks like yet, right?
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been fun.
I appreciate it.
Good deal.